they can beat us. I don't care what the score was last year. We know this is a good football team, and we know we got to be ready to go when we kick off at 1 o'clock.
They're all hungry. They're all playmakers. They all want to make plays. I'm going to give them everything I got. Every game, every play, every ounce of studying, every ounce of preparation. They're all hungry.
The same as every year, mate. The expectations are still the same. We have to know our assignment. We have to play 100% of effort every game and making sure we don't make the same mistakes. Same mistakes that we made last year.
I want to do whatever this team asks of me to win. Whenever my number's called, I expect myself to make the play, go out there, win on every route, win on every block, and just keep putting the offense in the best position possible.
Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions sure seem to be a successful group for it this year, so we're going to get a fired up Detroit Lions for week 1, so we better be ready to go.
The day has finally come. Eagles fans, kickoff to 2022 is here. It was wheels up this weekend as the Birds open the season in Detroit. It's year 2 under Nick Sirianni, year 2 for Hurts under center. A big opportunity to walk out of week 1 in the win column. Welcome to the Kickoff Show presented by Little Caesars. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy. That hype video gives me goosebumps, Fran.
That's it, and we're finally here, right? All the work this offseason, all the weightlifting, all the running, everything you've done to get ready for this moment, whether you're on the field or off the field, it's finally here. Really excited to get this team underway this season. It's going to be really exciting for Eagles fans.
A lot of juice this week, especially in the locker room. Energy was really high. Let's dive right on in. What are the 3 things you're really going to look for today against the Lions?
You know me, I'm going to start in the trenches because I think that's where games are won and lost. So I think when you look at this Detroit offensive line, injuries abound. An old friend of the Eagles, Halapoulivaati Vaitai, he goes on injured reserve. He was their starting right guard. The guy slated to start for him, Tommy Kramer, he's out for this game with a back injury. The starting center for Detroit, Frank Ragnow, he is questionable coming in. He's banged up, looks like he's going to play, but Frank Ragnow out with hampering with a groin injury. So you look at these matchups, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, working against the interior of that Detroit offensive line. That is going to be a pivotal matchup. Then you flip the script, go to the other side of the football. Aiden Hutchinson, the number 2 pick in this draft, the Eagles have to have eyes on him. And it's not just a one guy's job to be able to protect Jalen Hurts against Aiden Hutchinson because he plays both defensive end spots and they kick him inside on 3rd down. So he'll be matched up against both tackles and guards in this game. And then I think when you look at the back 7 for Detroit, that's where this game can really kind of get out of hand. I think when you look at the linebackers, you look at the corners, the Eagles can win a lot of these matchups in space. You get misdirection going. You get play action off of that devastating run game that the Eagles have. Now you can really start cooking with gas with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You get the running backs involved. I'm really excited to see what this Eagles offense is going to do to battle against that back 7 for Detroit.
These 2 teams met in 2021. It became a turning point for the Eagles season. They entered the game having lost 5 of their last 6. They beat the Lions 44-6. It was a coming out party for the Eagles run game, Fran, that went on to be the best in the league last year. But Sirianni and players alike have all said this week, who cares? It's a new season. It's a new team. And Fran, when you look at this football team, they've improved just about at every single position in 2022.
No doubt. And remember, at that point, when the Eagles won that game 44-6, they were 2-5 going into that point. They were dead in the water. Everybody wrote them off. Everything was a laughing stock. And they know what it feels like to be looked that way. So you can't go into this game if you're the Eagles looking at Detroit and expecting more of the same. And this is going to just be 44-6 like it was last year. That was the messaging from the top down from this coaching staff, going to this team, looking forward to this game. The Eagles are going to come in battle-tested. They are hungry for this game. They're excited to get out on the field and take on the Detroit Lions. I don't think they're going to be looking past this opponent one slightest bit. I think this is going to be a really fun, competitive matchup on both sides of the football.
The youngest quarterback in Eagles history to lead his team to the playoffs, Jalen Hurts. In 2021, he combined for just under 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. He led all quarterbacks in carries, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. When you think about Jalen Hurts in year 2, the people want to see how he can throw the football. Now he's got the pieces around him. We got A.J. Brown on this Eagles offense. We'll get into him a little bit later. But what are you hoping to see in Jalen Hurts when he makes a big jump from year 1 as a starter to year 2?
Well, you get that consistency, and he has not been in the same scheme for consecutive years since high school. So I actually asked Greg Cosell about that this week on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. And I was like, is that overrated? Are we talking too much about that? And Greg, I wanted to get his insight on it because he's spent the better part of 4 decades talking with coaches and quarterbacks about topics like this. And he said, it is absolutely not overrated. It is pivotal for a quarterback to have that kind of familiarity with a scheme. When you go back to where he was last year, that's the building block. That's where you're starting everything from scratch there. To have that entire foundation of a full calendar year to be able to work with this coaching staff, talk through different things, different situations, how you read different plays out, it is just going to be so beneficial for Jalen Hurts going into year 2 in this offense.
This week, tight end Dallas Goedert put all his trust in QB1.
Like you said, we got a lot of weapons on this team, and Jalen might be the biggest weapon we have of all. Him extending plays, making plays with his feet, he's the best in the league at that for sure. And just the way that he can throw the ball, run the ball, the zone reads that we do. There's just so much a defense has to prepare for that I think he's a Swiss Army knife. He's a great guy to have under center.
Brandon Graham also echoed Dallas Goedert's sentiments and said that's the main guy that's going to make us go. So let's take a look at the Eagles' offensive starters as we keep kind of picking apart the 2022 offense. The offensive line returning 4 of their 5 starters that started week 1 in 2021. What's funny about that is we're looking at Landon Dickerson, who still got 13 starts last season. So a lot of experience across this offensive line, guys who spent a lot of snaps playing next to each other. Isaac Seumalo, of course, he has now moved to the right side, Fran.
No doubt. I think when you look at this offensive line, Detroit, they put one of their defensive tackles on injured reserve yesterday, Levi Onwuzurike, who was a second-round pick a year ago. They were already banged up. Their second-round pick from this year, Josh Paschal, was on injured reserve. They've got a few other guys that are banged up going into this game. So I think this was an area of strength for Detroit coming into this matchup was the lines of scrimmage. They're built very similarly to the Eagles, but the injury bug has hit them hard on both sides of the line. So I would look for this Eagles offensive front to really take advantage, be able to create your own movement at the point of attack, both run game and pass game in this game.
I think it's safe to say a unit that Eagles fans are anticipating pretty highly would be the wide receivers. Yes. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith create quite the duo with some speedsters right behind them, Fran. The talk of the town has been A.J. Brown, but you forget what Devontae Smith did as a rookie last year in an offense that was primarily a run-heavy offense. So how do you see this duo playing off of one another and making each other better?
Well, I think when you look at both guys, and you and I have talked about this, if anyone's been following along through us throughout the preseason, is that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are really interesting complements because they both can do everything. They both can line up inside. They both can line up outside. They can take the short pass for long gains. They can work the middle of the field. They can work down the field in the vertical passing game. So when you have 2 pieces that can be moved around and do a lot of the different things, albeit in different body types and different skill sets. Obviously, A.J. Brown, he's 220 pounds. Devontae Smith, he's a few Wawa shorties shy of 180. I think when you look at those 2 guys and how they're built, what they can do, you're still going to keep defenses up at night because of their versatility. I would look to see how often these guys used in the middle of the field, especially that guy on your screen right there. Number 11, A.J. Brown, working the middle of the field. That's where he has found the most success over the course of his NFL career. That's where he was so successful at Mississippi State, or at Ole Miss rather, in college. I think when you look at A.J. Brown, the physicality that he brings to this offense, so important.
Since 2019, A.J. Brown leads NFL players with over 50 receptions as well as over 50-yard touchdown catches. So on paper, we know what A.J. Brown can do. But he's in a new environment, a new scheme, a quarterback who he's very familiar with in terms of spending a lot of time together, working out together. They've been working on accuracy a lot this offseason. So when people talk about Jalen Hurts, you kind of have to talk about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith too, because the 3 of them together are going to make each other go.
Yeah, and just looking at A.J. Brown, just watch how he is built. The Eagles have not really had a receiver of his caliber that is built that way, that plays with that same physical dimension since number 81, since Terrell Owens, right? It's been a long time since there has been a receiver of that caliber with that skill set that he brings to the table. I'm so excited to see this passing game now with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, all with the point guard there, Jalen Hurts.
We only saw those starters in one opening series in that first preseason game, so today is a big one for this Eagles offense. The best rushing offense in the NFL last year, over 2,700 yards and 25 touchdowns. That's that running back room. Now, a lot of talk about the run game, rightfully so. That was their identity in 2021. I asked Isaac Ciomalo this week, I said, is there anything about this Eagles offense that's going to surprise people this year? He said, you have to wait till Sunday to find out. But these running backs, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, and then Trey Sermon, he's inactive today but was picked up off of waivers a few weeks ago. Though they are the bread and butter to this offense right now as we know it. Miles Sanders is returning from a hamstring injury he suffered during training camp. He was back full go in practice this week. Excited to see how he is plugged and played today in Detroit, Fran.
No, it's a great point. And to me, like when you look at this run game, and that's offensive line, tight ends, and running backs all included, and Jalen Hurts in there as well, the first question you have to ask if you were a fan, what does this guy do best? Because with the coaching staff, you start with Jeff Stoutland, the run game coordinator, and you work through the running backs coach Jamal Singleton, a number of the other assistants, obviously offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, and head coach Nick Sirianni as well. Their goal, whatever this guy does great, we are going to put him in position to do exactly that. So if you are a player that excels in space, we're going to find ways to get you in space. If you excel downhill between the tackles, well, we are going to run you right between those tackles, right? So all these guys, you can have faith that they are going to be put in position to succeed. That is the goal of the coaching staff. And so far, based off what we saw last year, mission accomplished.
The red zone rushing stats from 2021 are very interesting. 15 red zone touchdowns came from this running back group last year. Gainwell punched in 5. Jordan Howard, who is no longer on the team, punched in 3. Boston Scott, 7 touchdowns in the red zone last season. And then Sanders had 20 carries in the red zone as well. So not only were they used in explosive plays, the Eagles ranked first in explosive plays, both in the air and on the ground last season, but these running backs were used in those critical moments in the red zone, Fran.
I think people think of goal line and short yardage back. Oh, the guy's got to be a 225-pound monster downhill between the tackles. But the Eagles have 2 guys on the roster in Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell that might be a little bit more on the smaller side from a running back standpoint, but both guys have a nose for the end zone. And when you're small like that, as you can attest, I mean, you watched Darren Sproles when he was here in Philadelphia. You're tough to tackle. You're very hard to be able to find if you're a defensive player. If you're a linebacker trying to sort through both lines of scrimmage, the defensive line and the offensive line, to find a smaller back, that can be tough to do in tight spaces, and that's something we saw both from Gainwell and Scott last year. As far as Miles Sanders not reaching the end zone a year ago, I think that was a little bit of a fluky stat and a fluky thing. We've seen that Miles Sanders can reach the paint. He was one of the best big play backs in football just a couple of years ago. I think you look at Miles Sanders, my guess is he'll be reaching the end zone sooner rather than later here this season.
He also missed 5 games last year, so
Exactly.
It was very much a next man up mentality in that running back room. Dallas Goedert had his first full camp this year as tight end 1. As we know, he sat behind Zach Ertz for the length of his NFL career up until this point. But we're expecting big things from Dallas Goedert this season. 2021, he had career high 830 yards, 4 touchdowns. He ranks second among NFL tight ends in yards per catch. When we talk about all the pieces to the puzzle from the receiving core of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert is right up there with them as someone who's going to benefit from this explosive passing game.
And that's the thing. I remember doing a piece, Ella, last year, it was around midseason, just looking at all the tight ends in the NFL and saying, okay, who is a guy that can create yards after catch, that can attack down the field, and also can be used as a plus blocker in the run game? It was like one of 2 guys. It was him and George Kittle, and that was it. He is one of the most versatile playmakers at the position in the league. When you look at his multidimensional skill set, both as a run blocker and as a pass catcher, he can win at all 3 levels of the field, exactly what we talked about with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and he is a matchup nightmare between the numbers. The matchup to watch here in this game, Tracy Walker, the safety for the Detroit Lions, when they play man coverage, which I believe we'll see a little bit more man coverage from this Lions team this season compared to what we saw a year ago. They were one of the most injured defenses in all of football last season. I think you look at this team now healthy. They want to play a little bit more man coverage. Tracy Walker, Dallas Goedert, watch for that matchup today. I would think that's going to be an advantage in the Eagles' favor.
When we talk about the best rushing offense in the NFL, it's just not possible without the big boys up front. We mentioned 4 of the 5 starters also started in week 1 of 2021. Jason Kelce today will mark his 123rd consecutive start, which is the second longest streak among all active NFL players. pretty impressive. Not surprising that he was going to get himself healthy and ready from that elbow clean out he had during training camp to play here in week 1. But I am so excited to see these 5 guys just get after it against the Lions defensive line today.
As you see, he and Landon Dickerson with a little fist pump there as they go through warm-ups and get ready for this game. Look, I mentioned that Detroit, coming into this game, they were hoping that defensive line would be a strength. They have got to watch out for Aiden Hutchinson. That man right there, Jordan Mailata, he's going to see plenty of the number 2 pick in this draft. But I think when you look at this front, overall, against Detroit's defensive line, it's going to be an advantage to the guys wearing the white jerseys. This is one of the best groups in the NFL from top to bottom. Their depth is outstanding, as well as their top-end talent. There's no reason to think the Eagles cannot win in the trenches here this afternoon.
Landon Dickerson, left guard today. Jeff Stoutland, he had a great press conference this week. I want to suit up and play for Jeff Stoutland when I hear him talk at the podium. But he said Landon Dickerson is the most improved player. He said he is light years ahead of where he was last year. Well, I followed up with Landon Dickerson in the locker room earlier this week, and he said, I still feel like I have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to clean up and fix. He said, that's Stout's opinion, but I have some work to do. I have to evaluate my strengths and weaknesses. Now, Fran, you have to remember, last year, Landon Dickerson was a rookie. He did not have a training camp. He was still working his way back from injury. So now, with a full camp under his belt, how do you see him just really start to excel in this offense?
Well, I think that's a great point, Ella, because he was a spectator, Landon Dickerson. You could see him here walking toward us here, number 69 in the white jersey. He was a spectator. He was coming back off that ACL injury that he had last December, and so he was a little bit slow going in terms of getting back into shape from that injury. But by midseason, he was full bore going up against opposing defensive lines, a devastating run blocker, really steady in pass protection, tough, physical, everything you're looking for from an offensive lineman. Also outstanding versatility. He is a guy that can line up at a number of different positions. He was playing mostly at right guard when he first made his way back to the field, then obviously was installed as the left guard due to Isaac Seumalo's injury. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off and maybe a step or two ahead of that based off our expectations.
Speaking of energizing media sessions, Kelsey had another iconic session at the podium this week. He shared his mindset going into the 2022 season.
Yeah, I reflect all the time on my guys I've played with, my time in Philadelphia, my time with the Eagles. But I don't know that it's any different than it's ever been in any other season. So I think, especially when you're out with an injury, you reflect a lot, and when you're. This is the first training camp I've ever missed. I've never, ever missed this much time before a season. So that's, going into one like this, it's been unique to kind of experience what, being not playing is going to be like, right? So I've been able to, in some ways you're able to help more with other guys and really, allocate a lot of time to your teammates and things like that. But, you definitely makes you realize how much you love playing the game and how much, you're going to miss it when it's gone and how much it's going to frustrate you to not be out there, because it was frustrating this training camp, I'm not going to lie. So I think you just, my dad used to tell me, you could walk down the street right now and trip off the curb and your career could be over in a second, so enjoy every snap. So I'm going to do that this year.
2022 captains as voted on by their teammates. Headlined, of course, by Jason Kelce himself. You got Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Jake Elliott, Jalen Hurts, Darius Slay, Fletcher Cox. It's a good one. Good group, Fran. Darius Slay, he was pretty moved by the honor. He put this out on Twitter after the announcement. To be named a captain is a true blessing for me. Never been a vocal or motivational guy. I was always taught to lead by example. And if you know me, I'm a guy that plays and jokes around a lot. And for guys to see past all that, I thank you. And I will wear that C on my chest. Honor.
Well, and that's the thing is, we always see that silly side of Darius Slay. You see that obviously working with our content team. And even if you're just watching him on the sideline, you can see that he's just a fun person to be around. But Ella, you're outside of training camp every day. You're at practice every single week. You see the relationship that he has with all the corners on that depth chart. He's working with the young corners on a daily basis. He's working with young receivers on a daily basis. Remember the connection that he and Devontae Smith forged a year ago at this time, where he was working with Devontae in between reps, after practice, before practice, giving him pointers on what other top receivers do. So I think when you see that kind of leadership from a veteran, that's what you want. in a position room, and I think Darius Slay embodies exactly that. There's a reason why he earned that C on his chest this afternoon.
After 9 years in the league, heading into year 10, captain is a title he is deeply grateful for.
That was everywhere, man. Like I was telling the group, man, that means a lot to me. That's probably one of the biggest achievements of my career. Never been a captain before. So I'm like, yeah, man. It had me a little teary out there for a minute. I ain't gonna lie. I was in the huddle like, oh, snap. But, like, it's a blessing, man, to be honored that. I appreciate that, man, from my teammates. Because I honestly go out there, go hard every day, compete every day, try to be the best version of me every day. And let them guys know that they see that, man. That means a lot to me. So, I wear it with a lot of respect. So, I go out there and go get it.
Led by Darius Slay, the secondary has added some new personalities this year, and I know they're ready to make Jared Goff uncomfortable today. Do you think that'll be the key for them, Fran?
It's going to be big, and I think when you factor in what Darius Slay can do, but then also James Bradbury being added to this secondary over the course of the offseason, that's two disruptive players at the line of scrimmage. Just force Jared Goff, force opposing quarterbacks, hold on to that football just a tick longer. I think you'll see that here from James Bradbury and from Darius Slay on the outside. I think that'll be a big part of the Eagles' defensive success here this fall.
James Bradbury, he's a new face. Josh Jobe, actually, Darius Slay was asked about Jobe earlier this week. He said he's a sponge. He's always around a veteran guy. He came in the building and he got close to vets. That plays off in the long run. When you talk about Darius Slay as a leader, he said that's what he did when he was a young player. You get close to those veteran guys, you live inside their brain, and that's how you become a good player, a student of the game, if you will, and then that's how you become a Darius Slay of the world, and you're a leader on the defense. When we talk about these safeties, the Eagles signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Saints. He's going to get the start here today, Fran.
Yeah, he gets the start. This is an ultra-competitive, ultra-versatile, multi-dimensional defensive back. And when you see C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's going to be wearing number 23. This is a very, very fun player. One of my favorite players, even going back to his college days at Florida. He can line up in the slot. He can line up deep. No matter where he plays, he is a fireball with the way that he attacks the football. He attacks the line of scrimmage. He wants to defeat blocks. He makes great plays on the football as well in coverage. Man coverage, zone coverage, middle of the field, outside, doesn't matter. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CJ, he's going to be a big part of this Eagles secondary.
Every player you've asked about him, every coach, the word they said to describe him is energy. Energy, energy, yes. Energy. He's vocal. He's competitive. They've all said he's a smart player, and he has done so much to really pick up this defense as quickly as possible. We'll see how it works out today, but earlier in the week, Darius Slay said coach will not put a player out there who's not ready to play, so it's pretty safe to say he must be ready to go.
Yeah, no question. And honestly, when you reflect on them trading for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I look back to all of the acquisitions that they've made since Nick Sirianni has been hired as the head coach, whether it's been on the veteran market, trades and free agency, waiver wire, but then also in the draft, the top 3 rounds of the draft, those guys that you put heavy assets into, they all fit that dog mentality, Ella, that Nick Sirianni always talks about, is that ultra-competitive, high motor, really tough. Everything that you see from these guys, Devontae Smith and Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, you go down the list, all of these guys, and then you go to the veterans, they all match that same intensity. They all match that culture that's being installed here in Philadelphia.
Another guy who has really matched the culture, a new face on the defense as well, as Hassan Reddick. We always talk about this, listed as a linebacker, but he is a do-it-all defender. We talked to him this week in the locker room. He came in with a hot take, Fran. He said it's the best defense he's played on in the NFL. What was interesting, though, is he said now it's about getting that chemistry. Everybody knowing their job, so when we get out on the field, we look like the team on paper. His teammates love him, and I can't wait to see what he does today, how he gets to Jared Goff.
If I had to sum up Hassan Reddick in one word, he's disruptive. This is a guy that no matter where he lines up, how he's going to impact the game, he is always flying to the football. He fits that dog mentality that I talked about just a minute ago, right? This is a guy that is always attacking the football. He comes at you from a number of different angles. His athleticism, his toughness, it's going to pop off the film today.
Well, with that, we're now going to welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who joins us from Ford Field. Dave, we've been talking about the Eagles' performance last year against the Lions, that 44-6 victory. How does that factor into today's game?
Hi, Ella. First of all, hi, Fran. Great atmosphere here at Ford Field. I don't think it really factors in, Ella. There's been enough conversation about that this week. There are enough new faces on the Eagles team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And let's be honest here, week 1 of a new season means everything. It's a whole new start. The Eagles really, the taste that the Eagles have in their mouths is the one from Tampa Bay and that loss to the Bucs in the playoffs. I think, though, what is really interesting about today, last year, if you remember, early in the season, a lot of pre-snap penalties. Eagles led the league in penalties through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. So today, in a, semi-hostile environment, because there are so many Eagles fans here, it's the first time the Eagles have been in front of a large crowd this year. So can they bundle up their emotions and stay focused and disciplined and not jump too early? That's what I'm looking for. But 44-6, nah, I don't think that means anything.
What are you hoping to see from Jalen Hurts as he opens the season here today, Dave?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Detroit does from a defensive standpoint. And I think it's maybe not quite but basically as simple as if a team is light in the box, the Eagles will run the ball. If a team plays heavy in the box, they'll throw the ball. And I'd like to see Jalen make quick decisions, start to show that he has taken that next step in the offense. And I want to see him from the pocket, throw the football down the field, be accurate down the field, not turn the ball over, and build toward the postseason. We know he's going to run. We know he's going to have the dynamic plays that way. But there are going to be times when that will not be there. So can Jalen Hurts win a football game from the pocket? And my sense is that Detroit really is going to focus on stopping the run and trying to make Jalen win with his arm.
That's your Eagles insider Dave Spadaro live from Ford Field. We'll be catching up with Dave in the postgame show as well. Fran, Dave thinks the key for the Lions is to make Jalen Hurts throw. Do you think that's what they're going to do?
I think that might be their plan, but based off that small sample size we got this preseason, I don't know how that's going to go for them. We saw 6 for 6, 80 yards and a touchdown from Jalen Hurts, and it wasn't just him running around and trying to make plays. He did an outstanding job getting through his reads, getting through his progressions, finding the open receiver, take what the defense gives you. We broke down one of those plays this week on Eagles Game Plan from that drive against the Jets where it wasn't a big flashy play. It was a check down to Miles Sanders in the flat that went for a first down, 12 yards and a pickup. And it's because Jalen Hurts went through his reads really fast, got the ball out quickly and on time. Yards after catch, Ella, that's not just a running back or wide receiver stat. That's a quarterback stat as much as anything. Jalen Hurts, really good signs for his development here this summer.
Earlier this week, the Eagles released their official 2022 hype video. If you haven't seen it yet, please visit all our social platforms. But before we got the finished product, there were some bloopers. Here's a video our social team put together of a behind-the-scenes look of the shoot, presented by Ponley Hockey.
That was not serious at all. Come on, bro. Show your acting skills, bro.
I ain't got none of it.
Hey, come on, lock in, bro. Yeah, we gonna be here a while.
Look a man in his eyes and shake his head. I was laughing.
Try one now looking at it? It helps.
We gonna be here a while.
The Kickoff Show is delivered by Little Caesars, proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Order online during the Pizza pregame and get it delivered or pick up in store in the Pizza Portal. Pizza. All right, Fran, week 1, Rico Extra Point. What do you got for us?
Well, Ella, we've talked a lot about this Detroit offense, and I spent a lot of time this offseason kind of studying where they've come from because Ben Johnson has been installed as the new offensive coordinator. He took over for play calling halfway through last season. It was after the Eagles played the Detroit Lions in week 6. So what were they going to look like? And that's what I wanted to see, the changes with this offense. And what did I find? Well, going back and watching Detroit last year, they were a spread team. They wanted Jared Goff in the shotgun, receivers spread out, take advantage of every inch of the field from sideline to sideline. This is what Jared Goff did in college, and he was effective in that role. He was a point-and-shoot quarterback, and what that does for you as an offense is that it really can be kind of truth serum for a defense. There are only so many ways you can line up and show pressure from this kind of offensive look. If you want to show pressure, you got to do it pre-snap. But what we've seen this summer is more of what Jared Goff did with the Rams, where he had so much success, led them to a Super Bowl. Condensed formations, Goff under center, run game, play action. That's the identity of this offense here this summer. But that can be a little bit of a double-edged sword because when you bring all of your offensive bodies in between the hashes, well, you're going to bring all those defensive bodies in between the hashes as well. And if you are Jonathan Gannon in this Eagles defense and you want to disguise pressure, the Eagles blitzed the Lions not just on third down but on early downs often last fall. Well, now you've got the ability to hide your intentions of Hassan Reddick and Nakobe Dean and TJ Edwards, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Avonte Maddox. You start to look at all of these guys lined up at the second level. When Detroit goes to those tight formations, keep an eye out on what the Eagles defense does to respond. If they're able to get some of those free hitters home, that'll show you this came to fruition here. I'm really excited to see what the Eagles offense or what the Eagles defense does to combat these looks from Detroit.
Please join myself, Fran, Duffy, and Ike Reese on the postgame show immediately following the final whistle. We will break it all down for you Eagles fans. It's opening day. Eagles, Lions. Can the stacked Eagles D-line get to Jared Goff? Will the Eagles offense come out running or passing? We're about to find out here soon, but from all of us here at the NovaCare Complex, enjoy the game and go Birds.